Greetings, fellow humans. I'm Martian Boo, and today we're going to talk about some upcoming balance changes. We got word on Twitter that we're going to be getting a bunch of changes on Tuesday the 26th for both formats. First, and the most important for Wild, is Kael'thas is getting a text box change. This is no surprise to many of you. Kael'thas has been destroying the format ever since its effect was reverted. I'm still a little surprised that that's one of the cards they decided to revert, but I'm glad they're changing it back. Kael'thas blowing up your opponent with little to no reliable counterplay on turn 3 every game was not for the betterment of the format, and having it go back to its old text will fix that. The text is more important than the mana cost, but what's interesting about just changing the text is we will now be getting a Wild exclusive version of the card. Kael'thas has never existed at 6 mana with the worse effect. As far as the ramifications of that, it's unlikely to see any more play than it was before it got reverted. This possibly means that the nerf revert is actually a nerf to Wild Kael'thas, just because when it costs 7 with its old effect, it had been used in a Malygos Druid deck because it could be tutored with Juicy Psych Melon. Now it cannot be tutored with Juicy Psych Melon. Since then, a bunch of different versions of Malygos Druid have come out that don't rely on cards like Kael'thas to cheat out enough mana to get the OTK. So Celestial Alignment and then just Guff. So if Juicy Psych Melon Kael'thas is never going to be a thing again, then this is a buff to Kael'thas, obviously, but it's just kind of funny that we're getting a brand new version of Kael'thas that's never been seen before, and it is no longer tutorable with Melon like it used to be. Next up, Switchroo is getting not only a change, but also a Wild ban. A lot of people were looking forward to a Switchroo change, but not ban, because Priest having 3 mana, draw 2 minions is interesting for some decks. For me and some others, that's Raz Priest, but for a lot of people, that's actually the Miracle Giants Priest, aka Darkglare Priest. The deck functions a lot like Darkglare Warlock did before its many changes. Basically, draw a bunch early on, and then on turn 5, you play 8/8s alongside Lotheb. While Switchroo Priest and Kael'thas Druid were pretty obnoxious, for me, the most depressing addition to the format was that Darkglare Priest. When people were playing that day 1 and day 2, it felt really bad to have the Lotheb happen every single game on turn 5, followed by Seance Lotheb. Running very few minions and having a bunch of minion tutors means you're going to find the Lotheb almost every game, and I don't think that that was going to be very fun for Wild at all. Certainly not fun for me. So while this may feel like a little bit too much for some of you, I think that we dodged a bullet. For me, the ban was the best outcome. They could have gone with like a board change, but then we're just using Deckhand. I actually did a video on that if you want to see me play Switcheroo with Deckhand. The health swap means that the board doesn't have 20 attack, but the deck is already running Topsy-Turvy, so 0 mana to put the attack back where it belongs. That does mean that you need an additional card for the combo, which will slow it down, and I do think that the deck was a lot more fragile than it seemed even before it was getting a nerf, and was probably just benefiting from the position that Kael'thas put the meta in. But just having a deck that draws 1 card and then kills you on turn 4, even somewhat reliably, isn't going to be great for the format. So I think that all in all, a Switcheroo ban was the best outcome. And now, Warlock doesn't have to be so lonely, being the only banned in Wild class. Maybe we'll see Mage get the next ban so that we can complete the Cabal trilogy. Wild desperately needed those changes, so I'm really pleased that we got both of them in the way that we got them. Relevant but less impactful, we have Pirate Warriors. Questline is going from 3 pirates, 3 pirates, 2 pirates to 3 pirates, 3 pirates, 3 pirates to advance the quest. This is a change a lot of people wanted previously. I think Pirate Warrior, especially in Wild, has not been actually that great. It gets played a lot more than its power warrants, but it is really reliable as far as its consistency, and into a lot of things that aren't the absolute best in the format, it does perform very well. A lot of players, especially those that tend to hang out in Diamond or lower Legend, are going to be really happy to see this change. For me, I would love it if that meant that the quest line just gets cut from the best version of the deck, because 3/3/3 is a lot of pirates to activate Rokara, and we do have unnerfed Corsair cashback, so maybe we could see the version of Pirate Warrior that I think is more interesting start to show up again. Pufferfist is losing a health, was a 3 mana 3/4, is now going to be a 3 mana 3/3. I think Puffer Fist is a really cool card, and I'm a little sad to see it lose the health because that is a pretty important breakpoint. 3 mana is a lot to spend on a minion in aggressive decks in Wild these days, so losing that health is probably going to affect it a lot. We might see that card not quite get its chance to shine. But it was a pretty absurd card, so maybe it's for the best. Miracle Growth is going from 7 mana to 8 mana. I'm a little sad to see this happen too. I really like the card Miracle Growth, and I was excited to try it in some Cthulhu builds. It might still be really good in those decks. I'm definitely going to play it and see, but it could very well be that 1 more mana was just too much to spend on it. Finally, we have Kazakhstan's activation requirement is going from only dragons left in deck to you have to have played 4 dragons for it to trigger. This is a really cool change. I know it's intended to be a nerf, but I think it makes the card more fun. It was not a dragon payoff, it was a no minions payoff, and now it is a dragon payoff. I think a lot of people feel the same way, that they wish that Kazakhstan was a dragon payoff. I keep seeing LPG lists pop up that have like 20 non-dragon minions and a Kazakhstan in the deck anyway. And a deck like LPG, if the game goes long enough that your deck would be empty, you probably won with Alexstrasza, Bran, Alexstrasza some point along the way anyway. So it just didn't really make sense, but a lot of people were doing it. And I think a lot of people just want to play Kazakhstan this way, where it's part of a dragon deck, not just you cut all your minions, run spells, and have Kazakhstan as your finisher. This opens up like Dustbringer, Lightmaw. Maybe we'll see like Emerald Drake alongside a couple of dragons in Dragon Druid, but it might actually kill the card for Druid completely. You don't really want to be playing early minions in Druid. And with the new effect, Kazakhstan doesn't just need to dodge your opponent's Dirty Rats. All of your dragons do. You need to play 4 of them. So if you're running 2 Emerald Drakes, 3 9-cost dragons, Onyxia, and Kazakhstan, if too many of those get ratted out of your hand, even if it's not Kazakhstan, you can't actually activate its effect. So we may see Kazakhstan leave Druid and Wild and start to show up in other places like Priest and Mage. Overall, for me, these changes were all really cool. I feel like Kael'thas robbed us of a first couple weeks of the expansion, that time of experimentation, and maybe we'll get a chance to play with all the new tools now. A lot of people are worried about how Pirate Rogue is going to be without Kazakhstan and Switchroo in the format, and I think the answer is it's going to be worse. The mech decks were getting pushed off pretty hard by the existence of Kael'thas Druid, so with that gone, we're going to see a lot more mechs, and I think that the Pirate Rogue deck struggles into it significantly. And it's losing Puffer Fist, which was a really good card for that deck as it was. The mech decks, I think, are very strong now that turn 5 is unlocked. And on the one hand, I think a lot of people are going to hate it. But on the other hand, I think slower strategies can deal with it pretty well, like Poison Seeds and Devolve and a lot of the Priest board clears. So if we do see a lot of mechs, maybe Raza has a chance of being relevant. We'll have to see. I'm really excited to play with the meta without Kael'thas in it, and I hope you are too. Let me know in the comments what you're most excited to play with now that the format's opening up, what you thought of the changes, whether they went too far, whether they didn't go far enough. Remember to like and subscribe to support the channel. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.